Well, hello, folks. Long time no see, and welcome to another episode of Blueprint Roundup. I had to take some time off for personal reasons, and now we're back. So, within that time, I've been pretty busy. A number of things to show for you today. So, first thing off is this is the Defender 2. It's inspired by the Star Wars The Old Republic design, the actual Defender. So, here with this form, I've taken some liberties to accommodate some of the features and devices found within the game. So somewhat resembles it, maybe a reimagining somewhat. So we're looking at with this build, it's going to be available for Reforged Eden, Reforged Eden 2, and also Vanilla. It's going to be coming in as a early start base. Not quite starter. There's some titanium and other needs in there, but going to be as a starter base, so you're not going to have the thrusters installed. This is actually a placeholder. Don't disregard that. So it's going to have no thrusters. It's essentially going to be a base, kind of like you imagine with, if you're familiar with my Gozanti, or maybe Jay Randall's Janus, that sort of effect going on. Let's actually take down the lights here. So, Defender's going to be coming in with stock 18 grow plots. You're going to have a advanced constructor. I'm sorry, large constructor. Medical suite in the back, partial, and there's going to be a medical suite forward, which will be a full medical suite. So, a couple of RP things going on here. Well, I guess just a room, really. So we do have a generator room here. This is going to be good for 3 advanced generators. For vanilla, you probably won't need all of that. You should be able to run that maybe on 1 generator, 1 or 2 generators. You should be comfortable with that. But for Reforged Eden 2 and Reforged Eden, that'll be available. So this is going to be our engineering. This will be space for our CPU placement. It's a pretty extensive core. I don't quite have the count. I know there's a number of octs and quantums you can fit in here in addition to the standard 9 with Reforged Eden 1 and then Reforged Eden 2. Pretty sure it fits all of the big devices, if I'm not mistaken. I did run that and check it. I'd have to get back to you on that. Pretty sure it was, though. So we have the shield house here. And we're gonna have a gravity placement, pentaxid, all that sort of thing. So, still kind of texturing the interior. That's pretty much the last thing to do, with the exception of LCDs. But so that's our engineering, and in the hangar we have a number of device compartments here. This will be for like the medium and small shield parts that'll be available to be placed for Reforged Eden. Should be able to fit all of the small and mediums. For Reforged Eden 2, you'll be able to house all of those parts in addition to like some of the plasma turbines that could fit in there. And also, so we have this compartment here. So for like Reforged Eden, you'll be able to house a 4th generator here. So that'll give you the option to run like a progenitor shield. You'll be able to feed that with the 4 advanced generators. For Reforged Eden 2, you'll be able to fit one of the small fusions here, and that should also take up a good portion of the energy requirements there. For vanilla, this could be like additional cargo storage. So, oh yeah, another thing here is the cargo will be expandable in some areas. Mainly here in the hangar, you should be able to expand 2 boxes there. So, as before mentioned, we do have a 18 grow plot area coming in with 2 fridges and a processor. Don't want to go past 2 fridges. Not going to call out any names, but somebody mentioned that. Can't go past 2, so there it is. So this is our forward area. This is our bridge. Got a nice little look into the shield house area. And then down here we have a deployment room going out. So that'll be some nice convenience there. And then we're going to have a medical suite area right here at the bridge. So also we do have a drone hatch. So should be pretty good, real easy to access. Yeah, full medical suite, shower, armor locker, all the goodies. So yeah, pretty expandable. Now this is our first person view here. It's kind of dark. Oops. Yeah, so this is what we're looking at here. Not too bad. I have no idea what's going on with the throttle there. I don't have any thrusters. Weird. Maybe that's a bug. Or a feature. Alright. So, yeah, so that's our internals there. So on some specs. Let's see what we're looking at. This is the vanilla cost here. So Neo, that's disregard that. I have some placeholder thrusters. I had them in order to texture the sides and the bottom and all that stuff. So let's get rid of that. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, there's another thruster somewhere. Well, there's not going to be any Neo cost, but there will be like titanium and sathium. So if you break down a base, I think you should be good getting this thing in. And so let's look at a fully decked out vanilla configuration. So this is all the max turrets available. And this thing's pretty ridiculous as far as the agility. So this is vanilla. Now we're looking at Reforged Eden and Reforged Eden 2 numbers. Obviously that's going to drop. It's still brisk. It's still robust. So you can imagine roll is going to be... generally these numbers are kind of around 60, between 60 and 90, maybe some 40s. But for the thrust, that's like varies between 60 and 80, depending on how heavy your loadout is. So it's pretty responsive. Now, I do have some combat footage that I'll probably upload on a different video just to kind of give an idea of how these are performing in all of their relative scenarios. But for the most part, the idea behind this build is, if you can believe it, I wanted to make something that you'd be able to spawn in at an early start and be able to carry it to the end game and for it to be successful for you. And so I think I have that here. This may be possible. Your mileage may vary, but what I'm finding so far is it's pretty good, pretty successful with all the scenarios. Now I haven't really given it like a progression check. Like either I've tested like max core settings or maybe some of the lighter ones. I haven't really seen how it stages up, so there might be some hiccups there, but for the most part, it's got a good feel to it. It's very efficient on the thrusters. You're looking at 2 drive thrusters for each direction, with the exception of a couple things like Ford has some supplemental to advanced, Strafe has some supplemental larges there. And of course, Lift has also some additional advanced thrusters there. So it helps to get around. It's very nimble. It's still a respectable DPS platform. A lot of artillery placement here, or I'm sorry, turret placement for its size. So pretty respectable. We're looking at whatever the max number here is for vanilla. So that's what, 18, 28, 32, so 36 or 38, something like that. So, and so for Reforged Eden, there's obviously some more turrets that can be placed, and those could be accommodated. There's still a little bit of real estate for placement for those turrets. So think of like a 40 turret gunship. You can max out the weapon placement as well. This is just for vanilla limit numbers, but I do have placement here. These can be bored out and place some additional. It's like 6 more mounted weapons there. So let's see. I think I got that here. Let's take a look. So that's Reforged Eden 2. Let's see here. Yeah, okay. Okay, let me show you how ridiculous this is. All right. Look at yeah. So if you're ready to dirty this thing up, you can. Let's look at our counts. All right, so it's 42, and amount of weapons here is also 32. So yes, you got a lot of offensive firepower on this little platform. You're still nimble. You're relatively CPU efficient with just having the drive thrusters. And then for protection, you've got it's pretty respectable. It's again for Reforged, it's you're gonna get the small and medium shield part, so that'll probably give you about 50k with an advanced generator. But if you slot in like a progenitor, that'll bump you up to around 90. At which point you should be good to tackle anything in game if you're utilizing agility. And that's kind of the feature of this thing. So it's not so much like a tank and spank. It's got some agility that you need to take advantage of in order to mitigate some of the damage. Yeah, so here again, we're waiting for LCD completion and just to finesse some interiors. I may or may not run another combat trial for these. It's definitely comfortable with vanilla, but I've done some changes to the armor profile. So like the center line here, this is this whole run here, this is steel base, but then we have like combat steel and hardened steel protecting some of the key areas, like the bridge, for example, and then also the compartments. So like the shield houses and stuff like that. These generator rooms, this is all going to be armored, the engineering section. So that way we're protecting the critical devices. So it should give a good, decent showing of protection. One layers, two layers in some areas, but it's kind of like an anomaly. But if the shields go down, it should take a couple of hits, enough for you to get out of the engagement. All right, so moving on, we have here our TIE Bomber 2. So anybody familiar with like the TIE Enforcer, or for Patreon supporters, the TIE Invader? This is kind of in that family as far as design. Now, I have done some differences. Again, people are familiar with the TIE Enforcer that's on the workshop. In order to kind of accommodate the kind of sleek TIE form, what I had to do is a lot of the cargo was representing some of the exterior blocks, representing the hull. So, maybe something like that wouldn't translate well into Reforged. And so here with the TIE Bomber 2, it kind of steered away from that. So everything out here should be steel. That should give you a little bit more mitigation. And just toughness in general for not only Reforged 2, but also for Vanilla and Reforged as well. So the interior is somewhat more open compared to the other two builds where there were maybe some compartments. Now here it's just kind of open, and you'll be able to access the stuff that you place. So some of the things we're looking at here as far as like the cargo in respect to the TIE Enforcer and the TIE Invader, this is probably doubled by this point. So it's pretty robust as well. Pair of jet thrusters for strafe, kind of like 2 jet thrusters in each direction, bare minimum. It's additional options. So this could be used as weaponry here. This could be like a missile rack. So kind of, you can think of an actual TIE bomber. It's kind of representing that. Yeah, so this will be hitting this is currently on Patreon right now, but this will be hitting the workshop soon as well. As well as the Defender, which will be coming out relatively soon. Now, something else they've been working on is the spiritual successor to the Sarissa, for anybody who's familiar with that. Starter SV has maybe like a mid-range upgrade range with some of the thrusters and stuff like that. Now, so some of the shortcomings with the Sarissa were that it's really sluggish once you start throwing on like some of the enhancements, the additional weapons, when you utilize the compartment for shield extenders or warp drive and stuff like that. So what I wanted to do here is beef up that thrust potential, so it's a little more vibrant. So these, let's see here, I do have an upgraded version. So that's what we're looking at upgraded. So we're looking at jet thrusters, one bare minimum in each direction. We do have some supplemental stuff. And this isn't even fully upgraded. We can have some additional strafe thrust right there. But for the most part, it's there. We don't have any weapons mounted on here as well. As far as upgrades, again, like with the Sarissa, we have the turrets on either side, but then we could also utilize this as a turret placement here on the bottom. Turn our light on, thank you. So this could be a turret placement here, or it could also be a radar placement. Now, the apartment space here is just about the same, maybe a little bit bigger in comparison to the Sarissa. You'll have options here if you want to armor off these devices to prevent chain reactions, or if you're fine just being a neighbor to that with your devices and utilizing more space. That'll be an option to you. So, as far as its current stage right now, this also is on trial for Patreon users, kind of getting feedback from them. But what I want to do is, it's kind of geared at the moment towards like Reforged Eden players and vanilla players. I still have issues where we have containers on the exterior, so I'd like to get those rotated out and maybe get some steel in its place. And but that's gonna take a hit to the cargo space, so kind of undecided on, maybe that'll be fine. I'll just roll it out like that. And it's not at the front of the ship anywhere. This is all steel up here for the most part, so it's kind of midsection. So maybe that's okay. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts below. Maybe that's okay. I think it's just maybe most important to have the front armored, some devices for decoys. That's what we got going on here. So that's going to draw the fire and kind of keep away from hitting on these containers. More of a concern for like the Reforged Eden 2 with the shield penetration. But for the most part, it's an overall upgrade to the standard Sarissa. It will be coming in as a starter price point too. So this is our starter here. 4 basic resources, so carbon, iron, copper, and silicon. We want to state that it's a little bit beefier than the Sarissa cost as far as like the carbon. But the other 2 costs are comparable, so maybe a little bit more costly. It does have some pros and cons for the initial thrust versus the Sarissa, but once you get this thing upgraded, it's going to be leaps and bounds more of an upgrade option over the Sarissa. So certainly a true upgrade potential. So something else I'm looking at here is this is the Predator. This is kind of like also another successor to one of our classics, which is the, get our guy here, the Cataphract. Okay, so now we've got like some fixed cannons. Doubled the little wings here, the rocket packs, I guess, if you will. So that's kind of doubled up. Turret count's still the same. Some differences to the armor profile. The interior I'm still working out. Now I want to do like, so this is one of my first builds, the Cataphract. Now it wasn't really geared towards like a progressive upgrade path, so that's something I'm going to seek out with here the Predator. So maybe we could get this thing in at like a core 2, maybe core 4 at the earliest, and it should upgrade you to late game. So yeah, so kind of the target here is, again, like everything else, is to work for all scenarios. So vanilla, Reforged Eden 2. So I'm gonna cycle through that till it works. But yeah, anybody familiar with the Cataphractus should be feel right at home with this thing. Yeah, so that's that. Now, kind of like my latest project here, this is the, well, current name is Lunar Mantis. It'll probably stick some form of Mantis. So think of this as like something in between a Sarissa and a Hannibal. I'm thinking like a long-range interceptor. So long range, we will have access to put a short-range warp drive on here. And for Reforging 2, that'll work out pretty well since you'll be able to jump out of system with that. But yeah, we're looking at like a Core 4 spawn in, something around that. Again here, Reforging 2, Vanilla. Looking at like 4 turrets, I'm thinking, so should have one placement here. Could do some turret placements there. Radar and another turret on top. Gun mounts, still kind of toying with that. We do have some pylons here. You can mount some stuff. Currently has 5. Spawning in with a minigun, 2 lasers, and 2 rails, but working on some hard points. Should have some extensively more beefier arm or weapon loadout by the time I get done with it. So, yeah, I guess more I was thinking of something that would, I guess that sort of the struggle with maybe the Reforged stuff is maybe the lackluster thrusters. So this is kind of a challenge getting these placed in somewhere without them looking too ungainly. So this is kind of the best configuration I can come up with as far as strafe. So this isn't a very efficient placement. Generally, you want to have your thrusters kind of like at the edge of your fuselage to get the most out of your yaw. But it's not too bad, and it actually works out pretty well for Vanilla and Reforged 2 specifically, because once these things are upgraded, it's very, very agile. Forward thrust, no problem. Maybe in the later stages, when you have everything on it, the reverse might be a little bit sluggish. We're only looking at 2 medium jet thrusters and 2 larges here. So you'll probably see some slowdown for just specifically Reforged. But as far as like Reforged 2 and Vanilla, if you upgrade these things, you should be okay in that. It should be very robust as far as like the responsiveness. Now, again, we have like a middle compartment here. We're going to be able to place in warp drive, a number of generators. Now for Reforged 2 and Reforged, you'll be able to slot in some shield extenders to be able to dramatically increase the protection profile here. But yeah, single cockpit, no passenger here. We're going to have some workstations back here and then also back here. So you should have access to your O2 station, fridge, armor locker, instructor. So still working out the textures on this thing. Like everything else, it's going to have a number of color iterations. So here's a look at a couple of other samples. It's really good in the yellow for sure. I'm definitely digging it. Some of these louder colors look really good on builds, being honest. Sort of a stealth profile here. The dark charcoal and some purple stripes there looks really good too. So still have the texture at the bottom and throw in some LCDs, and I think this thing will be good to go. Yeah, looks really nice. Here's more of a was that an olive? I think that's an olive, maybe somewhere between that. Maybe a forest or something. Then this guy here. This looks really good too. Generally, I'm more reserved with some of the colors like grays and maybe like a charcoal, maybe some darker purples with low saturation. But I'm telling you, man, some of these brighter ones, these are really looking good. Yeah. So shout out to Monty. Good color there. Yeah, so that's it for the vehicles, and then also I wanted to go over this here. This was the feature in the last Blueprint Roundup. Now, testing it out in the server, there's been a number of issues. Mainly the fact that, for the most part, this is kind of like plastic or wood, and that was done to save on cost. But I'm thinking that I probably just want to go ahead and convert this whole thing over to steel as a base, because those drone strikes, man. And I gather they're pretty nasty in Reforging too, so that's something I'm going to be looking out for. So now that'll, of course, drastically change the cost here. Mainly, it was like a carbon with some wood. So if we just shift that over to iron and cut down on that and give us a better protection profile, I think that's would be the wiser way to go, because it's yeah, if you get like a small compact shield in this thing, Reforging 1, that compact shield goes down pretty fast. And if you get like a higher tier base invasion, then you're going to really find out the strength of your plastic, which is not much. So yeah, so gonna take a little bit while, or a little bit longer on this one to convert it over to steel, and then after that, just again, some LCDs there, and that'll be good to go. So yeah, that's what I've been getting up to. Number of projects here. Yeah, so I guess here in the next couple of days, I might have some combat footage come out for the Defender. If anybody is interested in seeing that, let me know. And that's going to be it. So until next time, LyfeForce out. Hey folks, if you enjoy my content, please consider becoming a patron today. As a patron, you gain access to exclusive builds not featured on the workshop, early access builds, as well as participate in a number of things, including polls, feedback, comments, suggestions, ideas, or anything you'd like to submit to current and future builds. If any of this appeals to you, please consider becoming a patron today. Link in the pinned comment below. Thank you.